Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Go Live. Today is Tuesday, April 3rd, huh?
It is.
It's hard to say that, April 3rd. Oh my gosh. It's
March.
already, oh, it's March.
March.
See, that's why it's hard to say that because it doesn't exist.
I know.
You agreed with me. It was a test. You've already failed.
You are my boss.
We're off to a horrible start. No, what I wanted to say was it's the start of the first quarter of the year.
The last month of the first quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
No.
I mean, it's just crazy. It is
It
crazy.
just seems like yesterday we were celebrating the new year, right?
And speaking of New Year, I think this is the first time you and I have been on Go Live solo.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, welcome. It's an honor to be standing next to you.
Likewise.
Even if you don't know what month it is. All right, everybody, speaking of knowing where we are and what we're doing, I wanted to welcome you all to Go Live. We also are welcoming all of you that are watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Something new we're doing this year.
Absolutely.
Very, very exciting. Very exciting.
YouTube land.
Hello, YouTube. We did that because I think, especially today, I think it's very important because I think the topic that we're going to talk about, both topics
Yes.
we're talking about today are very, very relevant. So we did a little bit of a pivot. You might have gotten my email yesterday. Given the announcement last Thursday,
Yep.
and we're going to go over that in just a moment, we started getting some emails and we, Sam and I are agents at heart.
Yes.
We know what you guys go through every day. We put ourselves in your shoes and we said, you know what, I think we need to do what we do best, what we do all the time. We did it with adapting to change.
Yes.
We did it with an NAR settlement. We did it with car forms. Every time there's car forms, we come on Go Live and we make sure that we clear the FUD, we cut through the headlines, we dispel of the noise and all that stuff, and we give you guys the actual information that you need, the confidence that you need in order to conduct your business and just stay the course and keep doing what you do so well.
Yeah, it actually started with COVID, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. Yep.
When the governor shut down our state, this is what birthed Go Live.
Yep.
Because what you needed is timely information on a regular basis so that you can go out and do what you do best. And so we continue to do that for you today.
Yeah. So for those that have no idea what we're talking about, which I can't imagine as anyone watching today, we are, of course, referring to the announcement last Thursday by Compass of their strategic partnership with Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Mortgage companies. And I'm saying Rocket Mortgage and not Redfin because Rocket Mortgage is the parent company of Redfin.
That's correct.
And I think it's an important distinction to make, don't you, Sam? Because
I agree.
They are, while Redfin is a brokerage in itself and it is also a portal, a lot of why Compass has created this strategic partnership is because of the Rocket Mortgage component.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
They didn't need the Redfin agents. They got their own agents, and they didn't need the portal. They needed the mortgage component.
They needed the mortgage piece.
Right.
All right.
So what we want to do is make sure that we discuss with you what it is, what it isn't. We're going to clear through the noise. We're going to talk to you about why you should feel confident in what you already have in your arsenal, why Berkshire Hathaway is already in an integrated ecosystem and the tools and the resources that are provided to you to help you best serve which is in your sellers and your buyers' best interest.
Yeah, and before we dive into that, I think that an important thing to think about, and get ready in the chat. I'm going to ask you a question. If you can put one in just a second, if you agree with me. But how many of you, when you have working with a buyer or seller, still need to explain the change that we went through with the NAR settlement and adapting to change? And the clients are still like, well, what happened and what needs to happen with that? And you have to sit there and kind of walk them through that process. Put a 1 in the chat for me if you still need to do that. Okay, some of you know.
Nope.
Yep. Always. Okay, good.
Not really.
Okay. Good. So just put in a 1 in there. Excellent. All right. So the point that I'm trying to make here.
I think they made that point for you. Yeah, go ahead.
So the point that I think what I'm trying to make here is that when we're in the middle of this information in our industry is so close and so tight that when news like this comes out, we feel like it reaches the tentacles of everyone that we know, all of the buyers and sellers that we serve, everyone in our orbit. And the truth is, it really doesn't.
No.
right? Because if that were the case, everyone would know about the industry shift and the industry change, and they would be completely aware of it. And they wouldn't need to rely on you to understand those nuances, right? But the truth is they need you. You are at the core of everything that they do. And I want you to sit in that confidence, because we absolutely believe that the agents are at the center of every successful real estate transaction. If you believe what I just said, put a number 2 in the chat for me, because that is hands down what it is.
Right.
Right. And so I want to start this conversation in that manner, right? Because that's at our core what we believe, right?
At Berkshire Hathaway California Properties, which puts us kind of in a distinct opposite of what we think is going on.
Yep.
At these other companies.
Yep. So why don't you lay out for us just a little fundamental.
So fundamentally, I think what was announced last Thursday is a 3-year strategic partnership between Rocket Companies and Compass, where the Compass agents will have an opportunity to put their coming soon listings on the Redfin portal. There was mention of the private exclusives, but it was very vague. There was no detail about that. Of course, we all know that if they were to actually put their private exclusives on that portal, it would be an instant direct violation of clear cooperation.
That's right.
We also know that Compass doesn't shy away from confrontation. We know that that's probably the whole point. Right? They're probably trying to push the envelope as much as they can. But for your point of view for today, the narrative is that they are, again, wanting to put those private exclusives, those coming soons on that portal for added exposure to the marketplace. What's interesting though, Sam, and I know you know this, when you look at what Redfin and Compass combined, right, the exposure, the traffic to those two websites, Redfin 78 million on a monthly basis. And Compass, 7.2 million on a monthly basis. Zillow, which we partner with our Zillow Showcase, which Zillow still seems to be the #1 portal for home searches, blows them away 295 million on a monthly basis. So even when they combine those two portals, the Redfin and the Compass, it's still going to be a very small portion to what you already have access to. Right now, our agents, when they put a listing on the MLS as coming soon, if allowed by your local board or your MLS, but that's the other thing we're going to talk about in a moment, right? If allowed, when you do that, you're getting far greater exposure than what is being advocated or proposed by this strategic partnership, right?
And bigger than that is, here's the reality is, finding the right home, and this might sound a little controversial, so forgive me, but finding the right home is not the value proposition of an agent.
No longer.
It was historically, right? But in today's world, right, whether somebody finds it on Zillow, walks into an open house, or if somebody whispers it into their ear.
Social media.
Yeah. The truth is that most people want a professional to take them all the way through that transaction. Your value proposition resides in what you do after the home has been identified, not opening doors, right? And so when you all said that you have a client that will never do a transaction with you, that's because you have already proven that value proposition is far beyond identifying the home.
Right. That's when the real work starts.
That's when the real work starts. That's what you really get paid for.
I would go so far as to say too, I think one of the things, we were concerned when Compass first came out with a private exclusive, right? Of course, kudos to anyone who can put into the chat what our private exclusives portal is. Right? Because we have one, and it's used quite a bit. We used a lot by our agents up in the Santa Barbara Montana.
Hope is in there.
Awesome. Thank you, Hope. So we have an ability for you right now today to market your properties, because I think when we talked about this many, many months ago, it's about intention, right? We have agents who have clients that truly do need to have their home marketed off the MLS. And we need to provide them with a mechanism to do that. And of course, you have that mechanism today. But I think what Compass might have realized is when they had their portal, that alone is not enough to sell the properties.
It's not.
No. they realized that they needed to get more exposure. I think you and I were talking about this earlier. What's in the best interest of the seller?
That's right.
What's in the best interest of the seller? And that's maximum exposure. And so while you might have a client that wants to try a tiered approach,
yep,
right? Where I'm going to do maybe a coming soon, maybe I'll do an off market while maybe the property is getting ready for market. That's all perfectly fine. Again, following your MLS board rules, right? But ultimately, I think statistically, and Compass will agree to this, their press releases state this, ultimately those listings end up on the MLS anyway.
They do.
Why? Because maximum exposure always benefits the seller.
That's
and
right.
Our fiduciary responsibility is to the seller. And as you said, we are here to support you in your efforts to best serve your client, not the other way around. We don't create systems that best support and fuel only the enterprise. We're agent-centric.
That is correct. And I see it every day, every single day in terms of private exclusive, where our agents are networking with other great professionals in the marketplace to bring a buyer and seller together. It happens every single day in this private exclusive world, and especially at 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. The segment of buyers is so small, right? That the proper way to market that property is through those private networks. But let's face it, the majority of the transactions that any brokerage does, I don't care who they are, if they're a large brokerage, they're not transacting to a large extent above that $10 million. They're serving everyday people every single day. And if I am going to only keep that listing in a very narrow portal, I don't know that I'm actually doing service to that client. Right. And so the important thing is like you always do, is having these wonderful dialogues with the people that have entrusted you to serve them. And that's what you do great every single day.
So one of the other elements that caught my attention about this announcement was the relationship with Rocket Mortgage and the fact that the portal, the pipeline that's going to be created for Rocket Mortgage, right? So as these listings are on the portal and consumers are starting to inquire about these properties, that puts that consumer automatically into the Rocket Mortgage ecosystem. And so I know that we like to give our agents choice. Our agents prefer that.
That's correct.
Because their clients prefer choice, right? And so we don't force any sort of structured or ecosystem onto our clients. Fortunately, we are integrated. We do have our complete ecosystem, right? We offer insurance, we offer title, we offer escrow, we offer lending, but we do it because we compete on service, value, and price.
Yes.
We don't create a portal that forces consumers into that, forces the eyeballs onto those so that the consumers have no other option.
Yep.
The agents have no other option, right?
That's because we're agent-centric. We're agent first. And we believe that the agent is the center of that relationship. And so, yes, we want you to encourage them to use Prosperity Home Mortgage. Yes, we want you to encourage them to use Pickford Escrow and California Title. But that is because we've earned the business each and every single time. And if there's ever a circumstance where we don't earn that business, they're not in some sort of funnel that's going to drive that down.
No.
Right?
No.
And so just like you go out and earn that business every single day, fighting that good fight, all the services, every mortgage, every title, every escrow person needs to be able to do the same. And that's what we believe, with you at the center of it all.
What I love about our relationship with Prosperity is that they will enhance the relationship with that client and the seller long after the close of escrow, right? Our Prosperity folks are reminding the agent of the client's birthday, of their anniversary for 2 years plus after the close of escrow. So we're not distracting from, we're enhancing. Which I think is, again, our agent-centric philosophy on everything that we do. So
Exactly right. Exactly right. Thank you for some wonderful comments there in the chat. We really do appreciate that.
So what hasn't changed is your ability as a Berkshire Hathaway agent to be able to market and sell your clients' listings the way you see best fit, the way you and your client determine the best marketing strategy for that property, for that particular client. Do you want to use a coming soon? Absolutely. It's available to you. And it will be posted, syndicated on Zillow, which we've already discussed earlier, has far greater number of eyeballs on a monthly basis than the other two portals combined. Can you do a private exclusive? Thanks to Hope and all of our other viewers today, you guys know that we have a private exclusive portal through Real Scout, which is a very engaging platform that is interactive with the buyers. And it also is a way for you as agents to capture more contacts when you're doing open house, right?
Absolutely.
Come work with me and I'll get you exposure to a bunch of inventory that's not yet on the MLS. And then of course, at some point, you and your client might decide that it's best to get as many eyeballs on that property as possible. And you're going to go ahead and put it in the MLS so that it gets global syndication. As a company, we not only syndicate to the standard portals that most brokerages do, we pay to have our syndication expanded even globally beyond that, because you just never know where the buyer is going to come from. Sure. And we want you to have the greatest exposure as possible.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. And that's absolutely right. And so, I think what right now might be, because I'm sure you have lots of questions, and we're going to stay on after our wonderful Debbie DeGrote is going to come on in just a second and talk to you. But I want you to start thinking about some questions that you have, because I also want to take this time, especially with Debbie on, who's going to talk about negotiations, to think about how we can help you explain, should it come up, which it probably won't, but should it come up, we want to help you work through some of those things and what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and why you're saying it, so that you can just kind of move on and continue to serve them as you need to serve them. And so I'll share this with you, this kind of closing this segment out, and then I think we can go right into Debbie DeGrote.
And we'll open it up again.
And then we'll come back right to this conversation, answer some questions. Is that, here's what's interesting to me, Brent, is that Redfin and Rocket Mortgage started their journey into this business as disruptors of sort, but disruptors with the belief that the agent and or the mortgage consultant were overpaid, and that they could systematize, widgetize, funneltize, whatever ties.
I don't think that's a word, but okay.
I'm making them up, whatever ties you want to give it, right? Their goal and their thought process when they started their their companies was, how do I get rid of the agent?
Or minimize their value, for sure.
Right? And in the thoughts of that's better service to the consumer. So it's really interesting that any brokerage would partner with a company that fundamentally has that belief, right? A full service brokerage who is there to serve buyers and sellers in those individual communities throughout the United States. It is certainly not our principle.
No.
We are agent intrinsic. We believe in you. We'll always stand by you. You will always be at the center of everything we do.
Right. Yep. Amen.
All right.
All right. Okay, before we go to Debbie, real quick,
yeah.
I know you had a conversation recently with an LA agent.
Yes.
Just share the group a little bit of that conversation, because I think that was very impactful.
And again, it's very similar to what we've been saying. And the conversation was, is this going to put us at a competitive disadvantage? And what I shared is, as always, these are moments in time. I'll remind everybody, when COVID first hit, we thought that the world was ending, that real estate was never going to look the same. We came on to go live, and we just started delivering information for you. And we had your back every step of the way. Then we had adapting to change. And we thought that no one was ever going to sign a buyer representation agreement. I mean, I'm going to be transparent with you. We were concerned as well. But here's what we've learned and why we're not concerned now. And this is what I shared with the agent, is that often these things feel big because in the moment in time, they seem big. They seem big because the attention is focused on those that are identified as agents. But as we said earlier, many of our clients aren't even aware. You still have to explain adapting to change, the buyer representation, the NAR thing. You still have to explain all of those things to your client. And so when I framed it in that sense and saying that the algorithms that we're all victims to today, when the algorithms are fighting for our attention, they're going to give us information that is going to spark an emotion. And if we just stay focused on what we do every single day and why people choose us every single day, you're going to win every single time. And this particular agent is probably one of the best practitioners I know in the business. In fact, top 25 agent in the country. I won't share their name or who they are, where they're at.
Or their gender. We're being very vague.
But they are outstanding. And this person has dozens and dozens and dozens of people that would never do a transaction without this person. And that's something to be proud of. We certainly are.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to our presenter, because I think Debbie has a lot of experience in real estate,
yes,
obviously, and a lot of experience with negotiations. That's why we invited her on, because we're going to talk specifically about negotiations. There she is. Hi, Debbie.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm with all my friends. It is so great to be here with you guys. And
Thank you.
Gino, your previous CEO,
yes,
we go back, goodness, 25 years.
Yes.
Having met years ago when I ran the Mike Ferry organization, I traveled around with him. And then Vince Lacey is a great friend of mine. And so, yeah, it feels great to be back with all of you. It's funny, as I was listening to you guys, a couple of weird random things popped into my mind. Long, long ago, I was actually watching a rerun the other day of long, long ago on Saturday Night Live, Gilda Radner. And she played Rosanna Dana Dana.
Rosanna Dana, yep.
And she used to say at the end of her broadcast, just goes to show you it's always something, yep. Right? Now, and I'm going to ask a question here, and this is going to date us, but of course anybody can look us up and figure out how old we are, so what the heck? I wonder how many of our participants today remember when buyers and sellers for the very first time could actually go to the internet and search for properties unrestricted without an agent, right? It was a big deal. And I remember them saying within 5 years, agents would be no longer, they would be out of business.
Yep.
But I read the other day, I think it was like 20 years ago, but I read the other day that still something like, and maybe my Chat GPT source was wrong, but it was something like 85% of buyers and sellers still use an agent. 15% go completely rogue, but that's a long way from putting us out of business. And I'd almost say maybe that 15%, we might not have even wanted them, right? So, and the thing about it is then, just like now, just like many things we've been through over the decades, any change is annoying, right? It is annoying at first. The buyer broker stuff, completely annoying. My husband's full-time agent. Many of you know my daughter, Erica. She's an approved TC on the BHHS list and works with the escrow company. I mean, we're all in. So we were clearly annoyed and worried, just like all of you. And yet I would bet that many of you are actually earning more as a listing agent, earning more even as buyer agent now that you have control. So disruption's annoying. It brings things that are not as good as we'd like, and it also brings great new opportunity. Many of you know Alan Dalton, probably.
Yes.
Gino introduced me to Alan 10 or so years ago, and Alan worked here alongside of me for a number of years. I want to give him credit for something he said that takes us into today's segment. Alan said, Debbie, if you go to the website of any major law firm, you're going to notice 3 things that they talk about: experience, expertise, and the results that they achieve. He said, unfortunately, when you go to the website of many truly great real estate professionals, they don't talk about that. They don't emphasize that. They talk about how they give great service. He said, well, great service is expected. Or I have market knowledge. Well, that's expected. But he said, people want high-level, sophisticated sales professionals that can negotiate and win on their behalf. So I want you guys to write those 3 words down: experience, expertise, and results. Go to your website, go to your bio. What tweaks do you need to make to really shine? A few years ago too, I was doing some research with the marketing guy I had at the time, and I forget why he brought this to me, but it was all this data and interviews where people were being interviewed about some, hot shot company that had come on the scene. And the consumer is like, what? I don't know. Well, who is your sales professional? Oh, right. So again, it's relationship, right? You're watching this because you're in the industry. Maybe some of your clients saw it for a minute. By next week, they won't even remember or care. And we are in a relationship business, right? So if you want your clients to love you even more, you must challenge yourself, never stop working on your skill to be this incredible negotiator. And sometimes guys, I think we think sometimes as, negotiation skills like it's self-serving, which of course we all want to get paid. We want to get paid a lot. However, when we negotiate more effectively, our clients have less stress.
Yes.
They achieve their goals and outcomes more easily. And quite frankly, they wouldn't even come to you if they didn't want you to take them by the hand and say, this is our next step. This is what we need to do. Many, many years ago, when I first got in the business, I had a tiny bit of a hang up about being a salesperson. And my broker said something to me that stuck in my mind forever. Your job as a great salesperson is to help them overcome their fear and hesitation to achieve their goal. He said, so it's not about your goal, you want to get paid, but you do at times have to be able to take the bull by the horns, guide them, and you got to be that calm, cool head in the deal, right? And so I always remember that, because clearly great negotiators are not born, they're made, because I really totally sucked at it. And I had an awesome broker that I stayed with forever. And, just like you guys with all your great trainers, they taught me. So
Yeah.
Just decide, this is the year. I might be good, but if I'm, let's be honest, we're never going to close 100% of everything.
Sure.
But if I'm not closing 98.2% of the listings I go out on, of the deals I put together, of the buyer consults and winning that agreement, there is room to grow. So a book I would recommend, it's one of my favorites. Have you two read the book Never Split the Difference by
Yes.
Chris
Oh, yeah.
Voss?
Of course.
I love it. It's easy read. I was not as patient with the war stories in there, so I kind of just skipped to the business part, but many of you will love those stories. But the thing that Chris talked about is that there is a mistaken belief about what does it take to be a powerful negotiator. And I think sometimes when we watch these crime, courtroom dramas, we kind of fuel that mistaken belief that you got to be a hammer, you got to be a bully, you got to be aggressive, rude, just pushy, forceful. And Chris said, well, quite frankly, if high level negotiators did that, the hostages would be dead, right? That is not the art of negotiation. That negotiation is a collaborative, cooperative approach. And I know some of you, I was driving around with Don this weekend in the car. He had this probate listing. There's like 28 offers on it. They're all over asking. He gets this call and this lady says, I want you to know, my buyer's going to write an offer and I'm telling them to go 15% under list price. Because I don't know how long you've been in the business, but I've been in the business 20 years and this is ridiculously overpriced. Well, Don's been in the business 35 years, right? He didn't say anything. He said, well, you are welcome to write whatever you choose on your buyer's behalf. In all fairness to your buyer, please know there are this many offers. every single one is over asking. So just do your best, do whatever you think is best. Well, that's ridiculous. And she hangs up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for her poor buyer.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So we don't want to be that. We want to be strong and powerful for our clients, our buyers, our sellers, but we also want to be the agent that everyone wants to work with because you're highly skilled, super ethical, gracious, and collaborative. So if you're a new agent and maybe you're sitting there thinking, gosh, my personality, I can't be like a bully. Please don't be a bully, right? That's totally fine. That's not what we're talking about. So you do, though, have to be proud of what you do. See, if you have any hesitation about being a salesperson, please work on that. You know, in my opinion, I hope many of you share this thought. Without salespeople in the world, nothing much would get done. Let's think about Steve Jobs. He was one of the most consummate salespeople, right? On that stage selling a product that wasn't even completely done. And yet he's changed the world, right? And for decades, he'll be, well, probably forever, right, in history. So please embrace it, enjoy it, be proud of it, and remember, negotiation isn't just the deal. It's winning the relationship. It's getting someone to give you their contact info and set an appointment at open house. It's requests for repairs. It's, the buyer agreement. It's everywhere in everything you do. So if there's one thing to work on, I would suggest you do. So I want to ask you to do a little self-skill. I'm not even going to ask you to type it in the chat box unless you want to, totally up to you. Ask yourself, if we won't use Chris Boss, okay, because he's like up there in the clouds, but any awesome negotiator you might be measuring yourself by, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you score your negotiation ability? So sometimes people will say, well, you can't pick a 7, so either side of it, but I don't know. Guys, what about you two? I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's a good
You're
question.
Can't pick a 7. Okay, well, let's cross that out.
I embrace the salesman in me. I always have. And so I'd like to think I'm an 8. I'm an 8.5. I'd say that.
Yeah.
I've hung around with you enough to say I would agree.
Thank you, Debbie.
Well, I can't say ditto, but I'm going to say probably about an 8 because although Debbie, I was more like you. When I was an agent, I struggled with the sales mentality. I didn't want to be the pushy salesperson. My dad is Willie Loman. He's like the born salesperson, and I wanted to be anything but my father. But I had to reframe my thinking too, and I thought of more as needs fulfillment. Yes. I wasn't negotiating. I was helping my clients fulfill their needs. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, or in order to do so, I had to be able to push, like you said, the agenda down the road. I had to push because otherwise no decisions were going to get made.
That's right.
Right. So yeah, I would say about an 8 because I had to push them down that road.
And I would say the same for myself because I believe the plateau, like between an 8 and a 10, is a big step, right? That's an area of great mastery that you can still continue to work on for a lifetime. And Kathy, I'm laughing because she says, I think I know who that is.
I saw that.
Yeah. Well, there are many right out there like that, unfortunately, and sadly, you all have to put up with that. In fact, I used to, when I'd call for sale by owners and they were like rude and they'd say, agents are stupid and I would never use them. I'd say, well, you should feel sad for me because I have to work with those people every day. Right? So if you're not a 10, right, which we're all saying we're, not a 10, what stops you? Because we each have our thing. So are you too argumentative? Are you too focused on your own agenda? Do you give up too easy? Stop with that first no when really, or that stated position, which really, maybe they're not really stuck there. They just need you to ask a few more questions. Is it poor communication skills? Or lack of proper preparation. And I know that was one of our bullet points, guys, to talk about today.
Yep.
You know, and I think the best way to have just a fantastic outcome for your negotiation is prepare extensively.
That's right.
So if you were going to interview on a multiple interview or go present, you know, write an offer, I would want to know who are the players, what are their backgrounds, the agent experience, you know, how do I study this market data to position this the way it needs to be, not just wing it. And it's so crazy because sometimes my husband will get an offer emailed to him. The agent doesn't even call, doesn't even talk about the context of their offer or their buyer. So lots and lots of preparation. So I wrote down a question. What is your pre-negotiation routine? And since market knowledge is such a critical piece of why people choose you, what are you doing every day to sharpen that market knowledge? What would you two suggest for sharpening market knowledge, especially if we take it back to the tools that they have inside of their fabulous Berkshire Hathaway resources?
Not even the tools, just certainly going old school. I would go to Broker's Caravan. I might like get into each of the properties that are in my marketplace.
So what immediately comes to mind is in any sales circumstance where I've walked away feeling like, man, that person was impressive. They knew their stuff. It's because, to your point here, they were prepared. So for me, that means, you know, often when I go to a listing presentation, if I need to study the comps, right? Just the ones that I'm comparing. But inevitably, a seller is going to say, and this is an example, way for me to articulate my answer, is, what about that house that's over there? And saying, oh, that's not a comp, and then trying to move on is not a good answer.
No.
But by saying, oh, that particular property, I went into it, here's the nuances, and I knew it inside and out. That's where I think people really appreciate preparation. Not that you're so savvy and sly, but that you have the information that you can convey you've done the work.
Yeah, and I think to your point, it is old school, simple things where you can begin. One is the broker tours, because it's easy to get into properties. If you're not busy on the weekend or you have a gap in between appointments, hit some open houses. As you do all of that, as a great negotiator, you would want to make friends with the agents in those properties, because who knows when you might be on the other side of a deal. Even just looking at the new listings every single day in the MLS, right? Some of our clients like to read the Wall Street Journal just to get little tidbits that they could talk about. Some of you are in markets where there's custom aspects like view, location, even architecture, and being an expert at that, right? So then I wrote down, there is a saying out there in the world of neuropersuasion that persuasion is not likely to occur without rapport.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that's an important thing to remember, that our goal is to build and maintain rapport with everyone in that deal, not just our own personal buyer or seller, but everyone, including affiliates, including inspector, and everyone in that deal, to make that transaction move forward much more smoothly. So how do you build rapport? Well, one thing would be going back to putting our own agenda behind us, which is also our beliefs of, here's how everybody should negotiate this way. Well, that's because that's the way I do. However, that doesn't mean that's their convincer strategy. So some of it can be cultural, which is not race as much as it is where the person grew up, lived, operated, and did business. Like my husband's 100% Dutch. He's never even been to Holland. So he does not operate in the Dutch culture. He operates in the American culture. However, if he came from Holland, I would need to think about, how do they negotiate differently? Or someone who's a rocket scientist, highly analytical. they still buy a home based on emotion, but they're going to need to have a pile of data and reasons to justify their decision. So we often lack sales versatility, you know, the phrase be chameleon-like. So we go at these situations in the way we want to approach it. And we don't realize we might repel 50%
Yep.
of the people we meet, which is super scary.
You know, when you're talking, Debbie, it makes me think of what you were talking about ChatGPT. Lately, we've had some of our agents have a lot of success. Some of our managers have had a lot of success with recruiting because, to your point, Debbie, they have been approaching, say, a candidate to join our organization the way they think they should approach that candidate.
Yes.
And the moment they started to work with a ChatGPT or a custom GPT and kind of teach it how the consumer or the candidate that they're going after, they totally pivoted, they totally changed their approach. Now the recipient is more receptive. The recipient understands what you're saying because you're communicating to them in a way that they can understand. You're negotiating to them in a way that is relevant to them. So I completely agree with your point. We have to understand our audience, and it's up to us, it's incumbent upon us to modify the way we communicate with them, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's so much so. I found and you're going to love this, Debbie. You probably know about it already, but there is an app that I found that will, if you tie it into the LinkedIn portal, so you take your kind of own disc assessment on this app.
Okay.
It is an extension that goes onto Google Chrome. So when you open the LinkedIn profile and you search the seller you're about to go and visit, it's likely they're going to have a LinkedIn profile, right? It's called Crystal Knows. Okay.
Wow.
And so Crystal Knows will scan that entire profile, and based on what it knows about how people write, how people characterize themselves, their experiences, their jobs, and they will tell you where they fall on that DISC assessment, right? Are they a D? Are they an I? Are they an S? Are they a C? But here's where the real amazing thing is. It'll actually put your personality type together with theirs and give you where you are, where there's crossover. Where
I gotta
you
write
will,
this down. You
Crystal
guys should all be
knows.
writing this down.
Crystal knows this is a secret weapon that not enough people are talking about. And you do have to buy it, and there is some subscription involved in it. But this is like inside information. This is almost like you hiring an FBI or CIA agent to do like this deep search. It is fantastic. Crystal knows.
So what that just made me think of, and I don't want to go too far off track, but technology, which is annoying to us sometimes, is also our leverage. Because if you think about years ago, many of us been in the business a long time, how long it would have taken to put data and research or on a property, or to research a client or customer in this way. And then now, is it perfect science? No. I think of it like a puzzle, right? If you take a box with puzzle pieces and dump it upside down, and you're trying to put all the pieces together. Someone said to me the other day, when we were talking about versatility, selling them the way they want to be sold, they said, well, then wouldn't I be being phony because I'm not being myself? I said, no, it's not that. It's actually very selfless to do this, to work this hard. And I said, think of it this way. If you spoke English and the customer spoke only French, you're going to have a hard time communicating.
That's a great point.
But if you know just a few words of French language, that you can use that to bridge the gap. See, now you've got a better chance. So think of it like that. Adjusting the dial on your communication, more intensity or less intensity based on personality, knowledge and data they need based on, are they more analytical? You know, the culture they come from and how they might negotiate there. And I think it's just a fascinating stew of information that top negotiators pay very close attention to.
So you keep talking about communication style. So it's not just because you can't separate the two. You can't separate
Right.
negotiation and communication. It's everything.
It's one and the same.
Right.
It's one and the same. Because when you're negotiating, you're communicating, and oftentimes when you're communicating with someone, you're either overtly or subtly negotiating.
Exactly.
Right.
And even just negotiating for the right to have another conversation with them, right?
Yes,
Quite frankly,
absolutely.
on a lead follow-up. So if we think, all right, so we got to look at their personality, their motivation, their fears, and then we have to do a few things like talk less, right? Ask more great questions. And when they answer, you may need to go 3, 4, 5 questions deeper to clarify. Well, I'm waiting until August. Okay, you're waiting till August. May I ask you, what's important about August for you? I think it's going to be a better market. Well, obviously the market, goes up and down and no one knows for sure. What kind of outcome are you hoping to see in August? Well, may I ask you, if you could see today that the numbers show that it is a strong time to be a seller, would you even consider that? See, that's negotiating to get in front of them to gain an appointment, but it's not pushy and it's not gimmicky. Now's the time to sell. People hate that stuff, right? It's like the old-fashioned sales techniques that they just don't buy into anymore. So ask more questions, clarify, be the calm, cool head in the deal, allow them a way to save face, and give options instead of opinions. That's an important one because you see, sometimes when I coach some of the really most powerful here in our California market, and they really want to do a good job, and they'll say, but Debbie, I don't know, should I tell them to take this offer or not? Or what should I tell them to counter? And they're just tortured by it. I said, well, let's take a look at it. What are their options? Give them their options. And in a book I was reading the other day, it said, people do better when you give them 3 options instead of only 1, right? And sometimes, quite frankly, our opinion doesn't matter. Most of the homes we show, we would never choose to buy.
Yeah.
And yet they love them, right? I have to tell you, though, a funny story about allowing them to save face, because I totally did this by accident. I accidentally got it right, because this was way before I studied all this stuff, way back in the day. I had the most difficult buyer ever. She was actually incredibly wealthy, incredibly successful lady that owned massive amounts of businesses in Vietnam. Had family here in America, came here to set them up in business, buy property, really like an A-plus client. And I really liked her, but man, was she a tough negotiator. So finally I sell her a house after so much negotiation. We're doing the final walkthrough and she says, hey, Debbie, I need to share one thing. In Vietnam, the buyer's agent buys for the buyer all new appliances, including washer and dryer, stainless steel. And I'm like, I'm just losing my mind here, We're at the end, but no, we're not. Here we go again. I said, well, here in America, we do not do that. So no. And if I did it for you, it would not be fair to all of my other clients that I have sold homes to, and I did not do it for them. And she goes, okay, not fair, fine. Like, she let it go. But now, did she really care it wasn't fair? No, but I gave her a way to save face, right? So you can win, you can be right. What's the old saying? You can be right or dead right. So at the end of each negotiation, guys, that you get involved in, and you're going to make mistakes. You're human. These deals are messy. Ask yourself, what did I do right? Because I'll tell you what, even if it blew up, I'm sure there are many things you did right. Acknowledge that. What did I do right? What did I not do so well? that I can correct in the future and learn from that, right? Because it is definitely a journey. And because it is such a journey, and because all of you have been such great friends to Forward Coaching for years, we have a really super special gift for you guys today. This is legit, no nonsense. I talked to Vince a couple weeks ago, told him I'd be doing this for all of you. We actually sell a negotiations course. It's multi-modules. It's on demand, so you can watch at your convenience for $997 for the course. However, for all of you, completely free. So there are no strings attached whatsoever. There's no commercials built into the course. It is the pure course that I created for our clients and for the industry. So it's 12 weeks, but really you can go as fast as you want. Watch one module a week. So 12 modules. And then because you're very busy, we also allow an additional 45 days. So if you watch one a week for 12 weeks, but you fall behind 1 week, you'll still have 45 days to access the course before the access goes away. So here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn more about how to identify personality styles. I really teach you that, and you're going to find it so simple once you go through the course, how to deal with tough egos and personalities. Everything you need to know to be just this calm, cool, amazing negotiator that helps your clients achieve their goals. So I would be super sad if every single one of you did not scan that QR code. So do it now. It will change your business, because of all the things I could spend time with you on, this one probably is my biggest passion. So I hope you enjoy it. My personal email is easy, Debbie@forwardcoaching.com. Please feel free to email me as you're going through the course. If you got a question or just feedback, I would love to hear it. And I really want to say thank you to the two of you for inviting me. And I hope you'll hold them accountable to get into that course and enjoy. And, I know you'll take it, boots on the ground and teach them even more.
Well, Debbie, that's very kind of you. Thank you for that very generous gift of yours. We did put your email in the chat, so people will have not only the email, we have the URL. They can certainly scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. Because we do record this episode and people watch it the following day in our Precipio, how long will they have the ability to access this QR code?
I'm going to make sure that Jessica, I'll let her know that just to leave that live, so it'll be fine. That QR code, I'll make sure you guys have. I think you have it, so please feel free to share it.
Okay,
great.
And all of you, please feel free to share it with your friends and really anyone you work with in the industry. Because if we all are better at what we do, our deals will be better, right? Our life will be better. So please feel free to share it. No limit at all.
Raise the tide of everybody.
Yep.
So
right.
Debbie, I've said this to you before. I've said it to others before. I just love speaking with you because you just have this calm approach, your language skills, your demeanor. I would love to be in negotiations with you.
Well,
probably just go here, take it.
Maybe not. You would lose.
I know I would lose.
Okay,
I'm an 8, she's a 10, so I'm gonna lose.
So speaking of the calm voice, those of you Chris Voss fans, if you might remember, Chris Voss calls it the late night DJ voice.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right. And I was actually watching a master class on an airplane he was teaching, and it wasn't for real estate agents, but he called us out. He said, especially if you're working with someone in a real estate business or around a real estate deal, they're stressed, anxious, their mind's like a pile of snakes, and you need to use your late night DJ voice. So there you go, guys.
There we go.
That is so good.
Well,
all right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate you very much.
So much.
Thank you. Okay, now don't go away, everybody. We have questions in the chat, so if you're still with us, we're going to address those.
And add your questions now. We want to circle back. We want to answer those for you.
Is that our first question from Joyce?
Actually,
I think we had So Joyce Wu, thank you, Joyce, for joining us today. She says, how legally has Compass not become a monopoly and buying anywhere real estate? So actually, you know what, we were all caught by surprise,
Sure.
Joyce. You know, we're under the impression that this merger, the Compass Anywhere merger, was going to have to go through DOJ approval because of its size. So when it got announced, 2 months ago, that it had been approved and it was a done deal, we were all taken by surprise. I have read recently, and I've seen some noise in the media, that there are some senators who are questioning how it got through the DOJ so quickly. And so they are asking for it to be reviewed. Who knows where that's going to go? But it is puzzling how that went down. So I don't have a exact answer for you, Joyce. Lee, I don't know if this is a question so much as is a comment. Yes, Nikki and Stephanie are great mentors to you, Lee. They taught you how to use the buyer broker exclusive. So let's go on to the next one. Do we have stats? Yes, we do. So we have great stats to share with you, how the strength of Home Services of America, how well we do financially, how we are one of the very few, if not the only one, if I'm not mistaken, large national brokerage that quarter over quarter, year over year, turn a profit. And some of these other companies, it doesn't seem like a profit is a problem or not.
Yeah, that's the reality of, you know, this world of private equity and the whole game of the stock market, right? So when you go public, and you all know this, I'm just reiterating what you know, when you go public, you shift your principal focus of selling whatever widget or providing whatever service that you do from doing that thing to serving your investors and making sure that they are profitable, not necessarily.
Well, you have two masters, right? You got the stock market, the board of directors, what have you, and then you got the end users or what.
And so, unfortunately, I think a lot of companies out there are forced to make decisions on the rise and fall of those stock prices, right? And so, so that's, I think, part of that reality. So, yeah.
Okay, we got a question from Mark Paulson. I know, Mark, thank you for joining us. Do you believe this type of partnership signals an early move toward building a vertically integrated platform that could potentially challenge or diminish the traditional role of NAR and the MLS structure? So whether there's an integrated platform or not, right? Because I think there is that migration. Most will agree that I think there's the consolidation of our industry. A lot of the larger brokerages are seeing that there needs to be integration, right? Something that we as a Home Services of America company have been doing for decades, right? We have a mortgage partner, we have an escrow partner, we have a title partner, we have an insurance partner. That's the vertical integration. That's maybe a separate conversation than is the move by Compass trying to diminish the role of NAR and the role of the MLSs, right? And we were talking, Sam and I, earlier about, you know, it's really probably not in the consumer's best interest. I mean, it's frustrating, right? If let's just say from the buyer's point of view, right? Let's say you're in Europe, right? Because, you know, I've been to Ireland many times. You were in Spain recently. And in Europe, they look to the American model as the ideal, right? Because you can go to one agent, you can go to one brokerage, and you can see as much inventory as you care to see.
That's right.
Various price points, various markets, sky's the limit. But when you go to other parts of the world, you have to, if you want to make sure that you've seen the entire inventory, you have to then actively go out and start working with various different agents from various different companies because they're all siloed. Now, that doesn't sound like a good experience for a buyer.
It isn't.
No. Now, if you're the seller, it's also not a very good experience. It's even worse because the only people that could possibly see your listing are going to be either those consumers that are working within your brokerage or the very aggressive people, the very energetic people, I'm thinking of you, who are like, okay, no, I'm going to have to contract with 10 different brokerages because I want to make sure that I'm seeing everything that's out there.
Yes.
And I'm going to say that that's going to be very seldom is that going to happen.
Yes.
People are going to just connect with one person. They're going to look at a very limited portion of the inventory and go, I guess this will do. Or I'll get lucky and I'm happy about this one. So does that benefit the seller? Because they're not going to get a lot of eyeballs on it, right? Supply and demand. I just don't see how a fragmented market will benefit us here in the United States.
You know, and I think so many people with regards to NAR and for us in California, California Association of Realtors and your local association, I think in today's world, and especially those that are advocating for this fragmented industry, their focus is on the multiple listing service. And so I think NAR, CAR, your local MLS or your local associations are getting attached to that conversation when it's only one segment of what the mission really is and what those organizations do every day. And that is advocate for our industry and advocate for homeownership, right? And a lot of people don't see that behind the scenes work. We are privy to it because we have a lot of our agents and many of our branch leaders who are involved at the local level, at the state level, at the National Association of Realtors. Wayne, I'm thinking about you.
Gina, Diane,
yeah,
Lyle, Alec.
All of these people
Raylene.
are out there doing the hard work every single day to advocate for our business. That's what they really do. And then on top of that, the code of ethics, the standard in which we all have chosen to abide by. And that is to put the consumer first, our pocketbooks second.
Right.
That's essentially what the code of ethics say. And I'm sorry, and I'm going to be a little controversial here, so forgive me for just a moment. But anytime we want to narrow audiences, compartmentalize things, try to hoard something within our own brokerage, right? In order for me to have an opportunity to sell it before anybody else is a selfish act.
Right.
It's actually putting my pocketbook above the interest of a buyer and seller.
And it doesn't have to be just real estate. I think in any business, any consumer-facing business, when you put the consumer first, you win.
Absolutely.
When you put the consumer first, you will be successful.
Thank you for that heart, whoever did that heart. If you believe in this, give us a heart. Find your reaction there and give us a heart. And thank you so much. Good. I'm glad.
Well, I don't think we've said it enough lately. You mentioned it when you talked to that LA agent. The good agents, the trained agents, the ethical agents, the agents that know how to build relationships, build rapport, just like we heard from Debbie, right? Build rapport, that are good communicators, that are good negotiators, that understand the difference between the noise and the FUD that the noise creates and the reality, right? What we didn't talk about earlier is, you know, the timing of that noise, the timing of that press release, right? It's not coincidental that that announcement with Rocket and Compass came out the very same week that their earnings. So their earnings call came out. This speaks to whoever asked about our financial strength. Compass, as much as they did in record sales, they had yet another fourth quarter of record losses, $54 million in record losses.
And layoffs.
And then they had the layoffs started as a result of the merger, which we knew were going to happen because of the combination of those two very large organizations. The layoffs were bound to happen. So they were, hey, don't look over here. Let's put this other news out. And some of you kind of fell for that distraction. But we're too smart. We're too smart. You guys are too smart too. So because you are a Berkshire Hathaway agent, because you are the best in the business, the best trained, the most confident, we're going to cut through the noise. We're going to cut through the HUD. We're going to allow you to focus on what really matters, build that rapport, know that you already possess the ability to do what you need to do to get your seller's home sold the way they want to get it sold, the way you need to get it marketed. We're not going to fall victim to that noise.
Amen. Amen. So thank you. Thank you. I think this is the best way for us to close this out, is just thanking you for doing what you do every single day and representing that buyer and seller to the best of your ability with all integrity. That's what you do every day. You fight the good fight every day. And I'm grateful for it. And I know you are too.
I am too. So just like adopting to change, it wasn't one and done.
Nope.
This is not one and done. We'll continue to have this conversation. Your managers will have this conversation. You'll have it with your mentors, with our coaches. So again, we'll continue to make sure that you have the very best information so that you feel as prepared as you need to be.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.